to dream of the master race. On the day the Nazi died, say the prisoner of thunder was a symbol of defeat. Whilst Hess remained in prison, then the fascists they would beat. So the promise of an Aryan world would never materialize. So why did they all come out of the woodwork on the day the Nazi died? The world is riddled with maggots, the maggots are getting fat. They're making a tasty meal of all the bosses and bureaucrats. They're taking over the boardrooms and they're fat and full of pride. And they all came out of the woodwork on the day the Nazi died. So if you meet with these historians, I'll tell you what to say. Tell them that the Nazis never really went away. They're out there burning houses down and peddling racist lies. And we'll never rest again until every Nazi dies.
Woke up one morning and there were soldiers. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Woke up one morning and there were soldiers. The invasion had begun. Lend me your shoulder, we'll stand together. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Lend me your shoulder, we'll stand together. But I feel my time has come, and if I die here for the resistance, oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. And if I die here for the resistance, you must lay me in my grave among the flowers upon the mountain. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Among the flowers upon the mountain, let me rest among the brave. Someday the people will pick the flowers. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Someday the people will pick the flowers, and they will remember my name. This is the flower of the resistance. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. This is the flower of the resistance, and those who died for liberty. This is the flower of the resistance. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. This is the flower of the resistance, and those who died for liberty. This is the flower of our resistance, and those who died for liberty.
Come all of you good workers, good news to you I'll tell of how the good old Union has come in here to dwell.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
My daddy was a miner and I'm a miner's son, and I'll stick with the Union till every battle's won.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
They say in Harlan County there are no neutrals there. You'll either be a Union man or a thug for J.H. Blair.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Oh, workers, can you stand it? Oh, tell me how you can. Will you be a lousy scab or will you be a man?
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Don't don't scab for the bosses, don't listen to their lies. Us poor folks haven't got a chance unless we organize.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
I was born in a Dublin street where the lion runs do be, and the lovely English people walked all over us. And every single night when they tell come home tight, he'd invite the neighbours out with his chorus. Come out, you black and tans, come out and fight me like a man. Show your wife how you won medals down in Flanders. Tell her how the IRA made you run like Galloway from the green and lovely lace of Gilshandra. Tell us how you slew them old Arabs 2 by 2. Like the Zulus, they had knives, bows, and arrows. Of how brave you faced one with your 16-pounder gun, and you frightened all the natives to the marrow. Come out, you black and tans, come out and fight me like a man. Show your wife how you won medals down in Flanders. Tell her how the IRA made you run like Galloway from the green and lovely lakes of Gilshandra. Let us hear you tell how you stand the brave Parnell and taught them well and truly persecuted. Where are the stares and jeers that you proudly let us hear when our heroes of 16 were executed? Come out, you black and tans, come out and fight me like a man. Show your wife how you won medals down in Flanders. Tell her how the IRA made you run like Galloway from the green and lovely lakes of Gilshandra.
Ding dong, the witch is dead. Witch all with the wicked witch. Ding dong, the wicked witch is dead. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Witch all with the wicked witch. Ding dong, the wicked witch is dead.
Oh, come out, you pretty sons, come out and fight without your guns. Show your wife how you won medals up in Derry. You murdered 16 men and you'll do the same again. So get out of here and take your bloody army. Come out, you black and tans, come out and fight me like a man. Show your wife how you won medals down in Flanders. Tell her how the IRA made you run like Galloway from the green and lovely lakes of Gilshandra. Oh, come out, you black and tans, come out and fight me like a man. Show your wife how you won medals down in Flanders. Tell her how the IRA made you run like Galloway from the green and lovely lakes of Gilshandra.
Buckingham Palace announced the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
Do that again. I didn't understand it that time. Take it easy.
Hello everybody, how are we all? I am technically alive and all of that shit. Anyway, we're going into, we're doing Normal Island. So, the alert box is off because I don't need noise distractions when I'm being newsy news boy. Yes. So yeah, that's what's happening there. That's why also my camera isn't on yet, because I'm about to go into the thing. So what you're going to hear is me go into the thing right now. Yeah. Why am I looking in the camera? You can't fucking see me. Anyway. Yes. So give me money and things, but I won't acknowledge it. Not that I always do anyway, but you know, I do at least try. Whereas on this occasion, I will not be trying until after the show. For those who don't know, hang on. Allow whilst visiting this site. Yes, okay. You can use my camera and microphone, as that's literally the fucking point, you cunt. There's the beautiful face.
Hey, he's looking green. I was just on your stream. I was enjoying the music you had, actually. You should for your side, just play it again.
Well, yeah, that's my intro, yeah.
It's sick.
It is pretty good, right?
Hello, Kevin's viewers, by the way.
Yes. Well, I'd also thank you for dropping in yesterday when I was with Gareth.
Oh,
Gareth.
mate, yeah, that was so cool. Gareth Dennis is such a legend.
It was really cool, and he was a legend, but I felt like a missed opportunity because the BBC didn't have fucking... The 1 week they didn't have it on at 9 o'clock.
So what was going on there? And did they just not upload the video to BBC iPlayer?
Well, yeah, basically, yeah, until like after the broadcast, which they never usually do. But the 1 week I had like a cool special guest star.
Yeah.
No offense to No Justice, but like, we've been doing it for fucking years. It's not that special anymore. Yeah, and then so we just chatted, which was really nice. But like, I felt like I was sort of wasting his fucking time. You know?
No. The thing is, though, I mean, as you can tell, he likes talking.
He is a talking boy.
To be fair, his YouTube channel's quite literally called Rail Natter. So
yes,
I think he just he could tell he just enjoys having a good time anyway.
Yeah, it's not called rail concise pithy analysis. No.
Rail awkwardly saying something now and again. No, it's called Rail fucking Natter. You know?
Exactly, that boy can he's got the gift of the gab. God bless him.
He's great though. I really like him. Just like really as a person, he seems cool.
Well, he is really cool. Yeah, because he went. Look, he's obviously so committed to the whole thing. Like he literally went to Gorton and Denton specifically, not just to like campaign for the Greens, but like to specifically talk about transport to people in Manchester, which is like that's the level of dedication that I don't think
call
I
him
have
a transport hero. Because
he really is. Well, like, literally, like we talked about it on the show, right? He did the campaign for level boarding, which literally has forced the train operating franchises to now only buy new trains that are level with the platform, so that disabled people can access public transportation. That's a genuinely beautiful thing he's achieved. That's a wonderful.
He's actually made changes, whereas what we do is just like moaning stuff online. We might have not made a single change, but you know.
Well, I've made a change in that I've decided to become less productive.
Fair.
So,
fair.
Yeah.
Sarah!
Hey!
Hello.
Right.
Okay?
I never have my emails open, right? My work emails. I got the most aggressive email from a parent.
Oh, did you?
Okay, bear in mind you are live. Do not reveal names or... imperil your future employment.
It might have been me that emailed you then.
Yeah. I just a few grammar issues after a really long day. Like I got back at work, almost 8. I got back in my house yesterday 9 o'clock in the evening after a really long evening working, and when you get aggressive emails like that, it literally puts you on the edge. Like I literally could cry.
Aww.
It's not that deep. Like, why are you actually coming at me for my grammar? Oh my god, ridiculous!
I mean, to be fair, I've seen your script writing.
It's shit. Have you seen my text messages? Of course, my grammar's shit. I'm tired.
I wouldn't trust a teacher that got it all right anyway. There'd be something wrong with them.
Be human. It's actually not.
Yeah.
And I said in the email back to them, I was like, let's just be more empathy led and work towards your daughter's progress rather than penalising my grammar, because the email was concerning her lateness, not her character.
No, you should have just emailed back. Your kid's a little prick. You're an even bigger prick. Go fuck yourself.
No.
Oh my fucking god. Right, just gonna quickly go live quickly.
Your kid's
banging
gonna
on. No people moan at us for being late. We're 1 minute early.
just do it. Your kid's gonna
Or
be a
grandma.
failure. Your kid's gonna be a failure, just like its fucking stupid parents. Now, fuck off.
Right, I feel like you should never be a teacher then.
Oh dear, there's a number of reasons I'm not a teacher. One in which is that I hate both parents and children. So
Oh, you don't say.
yeah, well, that's in public in general. I can't do jobs that are like public facing because people are cunts.
Honestly, like, I can't stand. I love my job so much, and I'm so kind to her. I'm giving her so many excuses, and then when you have parents like that, it's just like, oh, like, I'm trying to just be like super cool about it. But it's
All
so
my
hard.
jobs have been like public face. My first job was at Argos. I was just sales advisor at Argos. Then I worked at RAC, like call center. Then at River Island, and I worked there for years. And it's always been like dealing with customers. And I tell you what, like when you're working at River Island Boxing Day, you think, oh, really busy. You think the sort of customers that come in are going to be more understanding. Oh, they're fucking not. They're like, oh, how can we piss you off even more? We know you're really, really stressed. We're just going to be even bigger dickheads.
Literally, like, being so mean to you. I
horrendous.
don't know why
don't-
I'm crying about it. I shouldn't even be crying about it. It's so silly.
Don't worry. Look, you know the old line about the only good fascist is a dead fascist. That goes for grammar Nazis too. So think of it like that.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Oh, we love you.
I don't have any future employability, so I can just say things. It's fine.
I can employ you as my little bitch.
You don't have to pay. That's a privilege. That's lovely. Yeah.
Didn't say I was going to pay, did I?
Oh no, that's true. No, to be fair, you are a capitalist after all. Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm not. How dare you? should we get the show on the road? Is everyone ready, by the way? Is everyone okay to go?
ready.
Yeah. No, I'm good. By the way, everyone go and follow Turn Left on all the fucking platforms on my end and all of that.
All that BS.
True. It's annoying because you say it and then no one fucking does.
Do they not? Thanks, guys.
Well, very few people do. Like, I've shouted out people before and I'm like, well, I've got a reasonable platform, and then like 2 people go there.
I missed everything you just said then.
Okay.
Sorry, it's just no. Your mic. It wasn't your fault. It's our software, but your mic cut out like momentarily, and I did not hear a single thing you said.
Absolutely fine. Not a problem.
I wasn't ignoring you. I swear to God. We're starting in literally like a minute 45.
You've got to sort out this fucking music. Jesus.
Maybe.
This is desperate.
Desperate? How fucking dare you? It's alright, well, as soon as we go live, I'm just going to be like love bombing you. But actually behind the scenes, we're horrible to each other.
Right,
All
good
right.
luck, guys.
Thank you.
Techno. Let's have some booze in chat for the music. Don't get dick riding the music, chat. Right, let's fucking go.
Hello and welcome to Normal Islands Live. I'm joined by the one and the only Kevin Logan. Kevin, how are you?
I'm fantastic and all the better for having your presence as well. What a Friday gift it is.
Well, I was just going to say, I love it when it's a Friday. It feels like it's kind of like we can be really, really stupid. What's also very funny is that for those that's watching Kevin's stream, they could hear everything we were saying. So it's funny how we're all pretending to be normal right now.
It's called Normal Island, so how could we not be?
True. It's called professionalism, which we clearly lack. Kevin, I'm very happy to be covering the show with you tonight. We've got 4 stories actually as well. We don't usually do this, but
so it's going to be
there was a lot to cover.
It's going to be 6 hours long then. Okay, cool.
It's going to be 6 hours long, and I've got to get up early in the morning, which is fantastic. But this is what we've got coming up on tonight's show. We're going to be discussing the Reform Party and whether their support is deteriorating. Shabana Mahmood attacks the Greens on immigration. Foreign Secretary John Healey doesn't rule out sending fighter jets to Iran. And comedian Omar Djili's really, really strange rant at Zach Polanski. You can help us grow by visiting turnleftmedia.co.uk/support to help fund our work, or by becoming a YouTube member. First story. Has Reform lost their source? Over the last couple of months, Reform seemingly have lost some of their spark. Multiple polling has shown the party flatlining or even losing support. Now, to be clear, they are still number 1, and every poll shows them winning a majority. However, the numbers show they've seemingly hit a ceiling. Favourable polls such as Find Out Now have them in the 30% range, but other more reputable polls, such as YouGov, have them in the low 20s, with the Greens knocking at their door. The question is why? Because they become the whinge party. It's been over a week, and party figures are still moaning about their election loss from the Gorton and Denton by-election. This is Green Party councillor Martin Abrams telling Nigel Farage he is a sore loser to his face.
But are you concerned that ethnic voting, family voting, people being looked over to make sure they voted the right way, and then the ballot papers being photographed and sent off to a third party, are you not concerned about how you got some of those votes?
From the Gorton and Denton by-election landslide, and Reform UK, they are still whinging about the result, and that's what it comes across as, Nigel. It comes across as whinging, and outside of Reform's bubble, to most people, it actually looks like you are sore losers. And that really explains why the Reform candidate, Matt Goodwin, has been trending on Twitter as Matt Bad Loss. And, it wasn't even close, Nigel. It was 4,000 votes. I think it's time to accept the result and move on. Okay? You lost the by-election. You've been in the ascendancy for many months. You've been ahead in the polls. You've been ahead in the polls for many months.
Forget what I say.
But in this by-election, you lost.
Forget what I say. Well, Democracy Volunteers are predominantly Liberal Democrats. They've put out a very concerning report about openly illegal behaviour in 68% of polling stations. Should that not be looked at? Do we not need reforms to restore trust in voting?
Well, it is being looked at because you've obviously reported it to the police now. So the police are going to spend a lot of their resources and a lot of their time spending time investigating it. So obviously we need to see that investigation play out. The Green Party embrace democracy, and we welcome any contest, a free and fair election, and that's exactly what the Gorton and Denton by-election was. The Green Party had a fantastic local candidate in Hannah Spencer, a working class plumber, and we had thousands of activists pounding the streets day after day, morning, noon and night, and we won that by-election. So it really is time for reform. A week on to move on. Right. Hannah's been sworn into Parliament now. She's a parliamentarian. I think we need to move on, accept the result.
But I'm not going to move on.
And let's just.
I am not going to move on. I think democracy and the integrity of the system matters too much. But I thank you for joining us and putting your point of view.
Of course, he's not going to move on because he's a whinger. That's what Reform are. Now, fun fact, Ben McLean was supposed to be sat there, but he was replaced last minute. Now, I understand, by the way, the need to get a Green councillor on. And, of course, Martin did a smashing job. But no one likes a whiner, do they? I mean, they were, I think, in a good position when they could simply attack the government. But now the Greens have been gaining in popularity. People are seeing them as a potential alternative. With the economic policies of the Greens, right? Nationalisation of public services, higher taxes on the rich, and rent controls, people like what they're hearing, which is forcing, I think, reform into retreat. Because apart from immigration, there is nothing about their policy people like. Kevin, I mean, do you believe that reform is losing support? And by the time we get to the next general election, do you think their leads may entirely erode?
Well, I think there's no doubt they've been losing some support. Even at the polling platforms that are more friendly to them have them plateauing over the last few months. But realistically, yeah, I think they've been losing support. And I actually think it's not so much the whining that's the problem, although people don't like that. But for a start off, people don't really watch GB News all that much, so I don't think they'd have necessarily seen a lot of it. But I think the whining itself is a kind of reaction to the real reason, which is the fact that they have been losing that support. And the reason they've been losing that support is because they've essentially become the Tory party, right? Not only have they started to adopt more Tory-like attitudes, but they've literally welcomed in the Tories of the 21st century from the cabinets of Cameron and May and Truss and all these people into the fold. And not just accepted them as people, of course, because accepting conservatism into your party isn't the end of the world electorally, because they've been very successful. You know, as they like to constantly bang on about, because they've not got a future or a present. Their past is truly glorious in terms of winning elections. They're the most successful electoral force in the last 200 years, basically anywhere on earth. But they're a slowly dying force, and so the rats have decided to start, leaving the ship. And I think it's emblematic that Robert Jenrick, a man who literally, as immigration minister, was the one that first started using hotels as migrant accommodation, has not just been welcomed into the Reform Party, but has been made the sort of presumptive Chancellor of the Exchequer, the number 2 in the potential Reform government if it were to come to pass. And the people who have gone to Reform, seeking to escape the Conservative Party, who are replete throughout the country, we literally saw the Conservative Party be fundamentally rejected in the only poll that actually matters, the general election, less than 2 years ago. They had the worst result they've ever had. They had a worse wipeout than they did in 1997, which was seen as the worst result ever. And so to welcome in those people to the very core of your supposedly anti-Westminster party, your supposedly populist party, why would anyone go for you? People who have tried to escape the Conservative Party are now being asked to vote for the same people. Literally, if you run through all of these people, Suella Braverman, Robert Jenrick, all of these Tories that they hated, that they didn't want to vote for 2 years ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago, are now there. You're literally going to ask people to go and vote for Cleverly in his constituency who hate the Tories when they're exactly the same thing. That's the real reason they've become so unpopular, is because they've taken on a sinking ship. They've taken on the unflushable turd of the modern Conservative Party. Why are they doing that? It's so silly. And they're starting to make, I think, fundamental tactical judgment errors. In an election in Gorton and Denton, where you were up against a local, a person who'd been a councillor, so had like deep roots in the community and campaigning in the local area, and a working class person who was actually from the city, and you put some rich twat from the TV from Hertfordshire up against her. It was mind-numbingly stupid, because presumably they do have local people who would have stood a much better chance. And this is the thing, they've ridden on the back of this wave of kind of being invincible, and that's been punctured now. Fundamentally, that's been punctured. They aren't the people taking on the Tory party in opposition to the Tory party. They've become the Tory party, and they're not the ones that are defeating Labour. It's now the Green Party that are defeating Labour. So fundamentally, the original USP, I should say, of the Reform Party doesn't really exist anymore, and so people only fall back on the immigration thing, which is undermined by having the former immigration minister as your number 2.
No, I agree. I think they've made many tactical errors for a long, long time now, and I think people are starting to see that.
Yeah,
and I think as well, because Reform, in terms of policy, don't really have anything to offer. The Greens do.
Well,
it's easy just to attack the government, isn't it?
If you ask any Reform voter why they vote Reform, it's about immigration. That's the number one complete thing. It used to be like you vote for UKIP because you want to get out of the European Union. Well, that's happened now. So that selling point has gone. So their whole thing now is literally just migration. And you've welcomed in the guy who was literally the migration minister, who started the thing that you think is the worst thing about the current immigration policy. So you can't really, in good faith, criticise the policy of the person that you've just made your presumptive Chancellor of the Exchequer. It's madness. Why would you, like, these rats are sinking, jumping from the sinking ship, and you are welcoming them on board? Why? They're the ones that sunk the ship. It's ridiculous.
You're so right. You are so right. I'm actually going to swiftly move on because we've got 3 stories to get through. And it's going to be a packed out show. But I agree with what you're saying, of course, Kevin. But let's go on to our second story. Excuse me. We all said that Labour would learn the wrong lessons from the Gorton and Denton by-election, and of course they have, despite losing votes to their left, with national polls putting them either third or fourth place. Labour still think their right-wing strategy will pay off. Shabana Mahmood made the time to attack the Greens on immigration, specifically their so-called open border policy and asylum policy.
Some say in response that we should turn to the path proposed by the Greens, that we should create a world without borders, that nation states are social constructs, and that patriotism is a dirty word. To some, and the possible damage is real. A party leader who seeks the highest office in the land should not be on the beaches of France helping migrants onto small boats, encouraging them to make a perilous crossing. And what he did personally, his policies would do many times over, creating further incentives to come to this country illegally and increasing the already vast burden placed on taxpayers in this country. Farage calls for border control without fulfilling our humanitarian and international duties. Polanski calls for the most expensive and expansive migration policies anywhere in the world, without any attempt to control the border. Nightmare on the one hand, fairy tale on the other.
Oh, so boring, isn't it? Who's inspired by that? Well, Reform are really, really bad guys. It's nightmare. But the Greens, it's student policy. It's student politics. You know, it's fairy tale. I'm so sick of Blairites telling everyone that, you know, wanting to slightly improve the world is fairy tale. And the thing is that the Green Party are not offering anything that radical. They're offering largely what the Labour Party used to stand for. Now, just to be clear, it is true that the Greens have said they would like to see a world without borders, but this is not a policy. It's a goal in the distant future. This would not be part of a potential Green government, as explained here by Zach Polanski.
In your manifesto, you say you want a policy of open borders. Can you paint a picture?
That no manifesto has ever said anything about open borders, and this is often an attack line that is used by our opponents. We've never stood at a general election saying that we want open borders, because clearly when the world is in political turmoil and we have deep inequality, that is not a situation we can move to right now. That would also involve massive international agreements and cooperation that clearly is not a pragmatic conversation to have right now. And very often the government try to push that attack line at us to make us look not pragmatic.
So you said you want a system of fair and managed migration until you can get to a point where open borders is, you know, something you'd like to see. What does fair and managed look like to you? How many, is there a cap involved?
Well, so let's start with the fact that we have so many vacancies in our National Health Service, 100,000 vacancies in the National Health Service, 1 in 5 care workers in the care sector are foreign nationals. We have huge issues around the construction sector too. And we've also talked about the lack of council homes. So we need people to build these homes. Now, of course, that is both British workers, and we should be training British workers, but we should recognise the contribution that migrants and people who come over here make. And you can do both of those things at the same time. Those aren't opposing conversations. It's ultimately about making sure we're protecting workers' rights, that we're giving people a decent living wage.
Now, upon seeing the Green surge, Labour have tried to appear to be the so-called sensible centrist. They're attacking the Greens and Reform which is sort of echoed by David Lammy.
Polls are saying that something like 40 to 50% of British people are currently backing either Reform or the Greens. That's an enormous number of people. The Prime Minister has characterised...
British people frustrated. They are fed up. They have been fed up since 2008.
But are they
then had
extremists
14 years of
if
external.
they're backing those parties?
We have been in government for 18 months, and yes, it's hard, it's tough. And I would say the conditions are tougher than when I was last in government as a minister in this department under Tony Blair. Of course it's tough, and people are demonstrating that. In the end, we are 3 years and more away from the next general election, most likely.
True, but
And
we've
it's
never
at that
seen a
point
fragmentation of the vote like this, ever.
That fragmentation story, or the story of governments losing by-elections, is not an unfamiliar story, I think, to your
Hang on, losing by-elections
viewers.
is not an unfamiliar story, but a five-way split is an unfamiliar story.
Yes, and we know that traditional parties across the West, in two past-to-post systems particularly, are losing voters for sure, and our parties have to be a coalition.
But that's an existential threat to your party,
for
isn't
me,
it?
For me, as a politician, that have got to be camped out in the centre and able to go have both progressive votes and to get some Tories to lend us their vote. That is absolutely the case, and we will have to do that if we are to win the next election. I've got no doubt about that.
What is wrong with these people? Oh, we've got to get Tories to lend us their votes. It's not 2013 anymore. I don't know how people like David Lammy can continue to operate. I'm surprised they even know how to breathe, how thick they are. I mean, and you know, Heston's completely right. We've got a five-way split. Not just that, but we've got 4 or 5 parties above 10%, right? 3 of them are reaching 20%, and he's like, oh no, we just need to get the progressive voters and the Tory voters. The Conservative Party is being replaced by Reform, so actually, if anything, you want Reform voters. But we've seen the strategy from Labour to try and get Reform voters is you lose the Gorton and Denton by-election. What is wrong with these people? Seriously. Now, does any of that inspire you? I highly doubt it. Kevin, what do you make of Mahmood attacking the Greens, but then also claiming that, oh, there's no humanity in Reform's immigration policies?
How far we've been removed now from the island of strangers. I think actually what you're seeing here is the Polanski effect, ultimately. Or not just the Polanski effect, but the growth of the Green Party effect more broadly. Because before, the island of strangers thing and the kind of milieu of Labour Party thought and campaigning around that, it was entirely based upon the fact that they thought the only threat they had was from the right. Whereas now, realistically, they know, both pre and especially post Gorton and Denton, that the real threat, I think, comes from the left, and that they can't take those votes for granted anymore. And so they're having to halfway house it. And ultimately, this is the sign of the kind of Morgan McSweeney rod that they've made for their own back here. That they can't realistically pivot either completely left or completely right, because they've set themselves up as the sensible adults in the room, all that nonsense. And so they're going to have to try and attack both directions with absolutely no ammunition for either side, because ultimately they're trying to talk tough on immigration whilst also wanting closer union with the European Union, so they're going to get absolutely no votes from the right. And they're going to try and talk about human rights whilst also engaging in at least 2 genocides in the last few months. And indeed, now having joined, however much they wish to reject that notion, they have joined the war against Iran. And so the left aren't going to support them either. And so ultimately, they're left with the tiny number of dwindling votes in our extreme and incredibly split and divided nation of centrist voters, which we already saw from groups like the what's it called, the Cock Group, Change UK, way back in the day, right? The centre ground votes aren't there anymore. As you pointed out, this isn't 2013, it isn't 2003, it isn't 1993. This is a completely different paradigm, which in many respects it sort of reminds me of historically how Governments are always prepared to fight the last war and not the current one because they're stuck in the mindset that they were sort of raised and grew up in, right? And I think we're having a similar issue here. You've got a cabinet of Blairites, some of whom, like Lammy and Miliband and all the rest of it, were literally ministers under Blair. And so they came up through the ranks thinking of, you have to chase the centre ground. And that's just not the world we live in anymore. They're completely incapable both of governance, basic competent governance, not being corrupt, evil so-and-sos, and ultimately from taking on the actual extremism that they're seeing rise. In fact, they're enabling that because the kind of policies they're introducing, the likes of Shabana Mahmood as Home Secretary are introducing in regards to immigration, are exactly the kind of thing that Nigel Farage wants to do. They are giving the tools to a potential future reform government to do fascism without them even having to pass their own enabling bill, as previous iterations of the fascist menace used to have to do. They're literally building the panopticon. She literally used that word that Nigel Farage will be able to use against all of us. And it's absolutely tragic. But what I do have to say is that whoever she loses to, I, as a proud Brummie and indeed a basically decent human being, am very, very happy that Shabana Mahmood is going to lose her seat in Birmingham Ladywood at the next general election. Good riddance to bad shit.
You can say that for most of the Labour Party MPs. This is my favourite thing to say on Twitter now because it's like I look forward to see you losing your seat because just sheer probability, I'm going to be right. I mean, I don't know how many are going to hang on to the seat. What I found really interesting, though, in that speech was from Shabana Mahmood, was obviously attacking Zach Polanski, so-called fairy tale stuff. But for her to say, and, you know, the reform have no heart or no humanity. Are you serious? I mean, your immigration policies, your asylum policies have absolutely no humanity. I mean, you flirted with the idea of taking people's jewelry, which was echoed by the Nazis. That's what they did.
Well, literally.
So she can't even be like, oh, we're like the Liberal Democrats. You know, we're not left or right wing. We're just sensible centrists. You're ostensibly right wing.
Well, not ostensibly right-wing, but what was considered not that long ago very far-right. If anything, the announcement this week from the Labour Party about new immigration policies we're going to go forward is a victory for an old name, but a name I think is worth mentioning, Nick Griffin, former leader of the British National Party. If you look at the BNP's manifesto from the 2005 general election, I remember because like a young political nerd that I was, I read that as well. And it's very similar, eerily similar to the kind of policies that they're introducing now. Literally, it would have been seen as far-right crazy madness, the idea of putting forward a plan where you were going to give, I forget the exact numbers, it's £6,000 or something, to families of immigrants who get deported to leave the country. You're literally paying money to repatriate people out of the country. A boilerplate BNP notion, which was derided as crazy, ludicrous extremism 20 years ago, but is now set to be government policy under the supposedly social democratic Labour Party. Let that sink in for a second.
Disgusting. Very wise words, of course. But let's move on. But before we get on to our next story, it's 2026, and we really want this year to be big for Turn Left. We want to be more ambitious than last year and to really put us on the map. We would like 2026 to be the year where we can have a studio and for our contributors to be paid for the work we do. Your support over the years has been incredible, and we are ready to take this to the next level. Of course, we rely on small donations. So if you want to be part of a media organisation that seeks to destroy the oligarchs, then please head over to turnleftmedia.co.uk/support. There you can support us monthly on Patreon, or there is another link to a one-time contribution. You can also become a YouTube member for just 99p. Thank you, and let's go on to our next story. Labour Foreign Secretary John Healey has refused to rule out sending fighter jets to Iran.
You don't rule out British aircraft taking part in offensive operations over Iran at some point.
Everything that we have done is defensive, is legal, and is NATO allies and long-standing partners like Qatar, like Jordan, like Cyprus have in working with the Brits.
Doesn't sound like you're ruling it out. Thank you very much, Defence
Thanks very
Secretary.
much. Now, Keir Starmer made it clear that the government was not involved in the initial strikes, and last month, the government refused to allow the US to use UK military bases. Weeks later, Starmer gave in. Now John Healey refuses to rule out sending fighter jets, so it seems that despite the rhetoric of not wanting to be involved in the war, Labour are happy to drag us into it. It's just with added hesitation. Now, the hesitation could be because of splits in the cabinet. Leaked reports show that not everyone supported allowing the US to use our bases. There were reports last weekend of cabinet splits at a National Security Council meeting, which is protected by the Official Secrets Act, over allowing the US to use British bases for the strikes against Iran. Keir Starmer suggested allowing the US to use the bases to carry out defensive strikes against Iranian targets at the meeting last Friday, but was met with opposition from Ed Miliband, Rachel Reeves, Yvette Cooper, and Shabana Mahmood. But despite the splits, the government has given in, and not only have we been dragged into this illegal war, but we are dragging others in too. So there's been growing opposition to the UK, which has been in the nature of protests, with residents in Cyprus fearing they may face consequences as we allow our military bases to be used by the US. No one wants this war. Kevin, many centrists praise Starmer for a measured and calm approach to this, whilst those of us on the left have accused this government of being complicit in this war. Now, it was obvious, wasn't it, that we were always going to give in to the Americans, and Israel for that matter.
Yeah, absolutely. The idea that we are not involved in this war is ludicrous. Firstly, just on a basic level of kind of normality, we are allies with the United States. They have military bases on our territory, both in the UK, and we share military bases in places like Diego Garcia in the Chagos Islands and various other places. And by the way, interesting to know that we're supposedly bombing Iran to bomb human rights into them from bases in Qatar and Jordan. Two countries with, let's say, a rather checkered human rights history. But, you know, so does Britain, I guess. Anyway, Keir Starmer, this is the perfect summing up of Keir Starmer's entire, body of work, I suppose. He put out a video today, which was kind of America war-brained, brain rot rubbish, right? Absolutely awful. Whilst at the same time saying, we're not in this war. We're just sort of allowing people to use our bases, which, by the way, means that you are a legitimate target of war there, by the way. But it's the perfect summation of him, because it's not really pleasing either side, whilst also still backing the horrible human rights abuses of a human rights abuser, in this case, Israel and America. Also, and this might sound conspiratorial, but it does need explaining, I think. The RAF base at Akrotiri, which I've mentioned before on this show as the place that is used as a base for the surveillance flights for Israel to engage in its genocide against the Palestinians. That military base was struck by a drone missile of some variety this week, and it was initially thought, well, that must be Iran, right? Because we're allowing the use of that base, and so it made sense logically. But it's being denied by both the Iranians and the British that it was Iran that did that. So who the fuck did do that? And why did they do that? Have we been false flagged by, I don't know, let's say, Israel into joining this war? Because if Iran didn't strike that military base, I think we do need explanations as to who actually did do that and why. I suspect we won't, though, because the Trilateral Commission will shut the British media down, naturally. It's an awful situation where we've essentially allowed ourselves to become the target of, I think, perfectly justified Iranian retaliation for the fact that we're bombing or allowing the bombing of their cities without us actually doing anything. I'm not suggesting we should do anything necessarily. We should not be involved in this at all. This is an absolute human rights and legal international law crime. But generally speaking, if you make yourself a target, it's because you actually did something. Whereas we're not even doing that. We're literally in the biggest cuck position imaginable, where we're allowing ourselves to be used as a heat deflection against Israel and America's crimes and wars in war crimes in Iran. And not just that, but it comes back. It's not just far away. People think it's Akrotiri or Jordan or Qatar. They're using military bases in Gloucestershire to launch weaponry, to launch planes for this war. So literally, if Iran were to bomb the British homeland, I don't think we could realistically complain about that. Because we're literally allowing ourselves to be used as a vessel for America's imperialism. So when America decides to kick off like that, you make yourself a target.
Yeah, I mean, it's insanely obvious. I think, like, it was my criticism of Keir Starmer. Like, I don't think he was the same as, like, Tony Blair when he was, like, Blair wanted a full boots-on-the-ground invasion, right? There was definite difference. But the criticism that we have is that even if you say, all right, they can use our military bases, you know, we're not involved in the strikes, you can use the bases, you are still involved in the war. Right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Iran and maybe their allies can strike Britain and say, well, we were only aiming for the American bases. It means you're part of this war. And also, you want to talk about false flags and conspiracy and whatever, and gaslighting. I mean, there were reports initially that said the Kurdish were fighting Iran. And I was like, really? And now it turns out the Kurdish said, no, I don't know why the US said that we were going in and fighting on behalf of the West. That wasn't true. So there's been false reports from the West, from America, maybe Israel, saying, yes, the Kurdish are fighting on our side. When Donald Trump has left the Kurdish to rot when they have been facing horrific onslaught. So it's, you want to talk about gaslighting and stuff like that, it's crazy. In terms of Keir Starmer, this is the thing, I think you're absolutely right, he's in the cut position because he's now lost favour with Donald Trump. He spent so long to try and get into Donald Trump's good books, right? And now Donald Trump is attacking him massively because Keir Starmer slightly hesitated. At the end of the day, unless you're Zora Mandani, I don't know how he's done it yet, like Trump seems to like him, you basically have to be Trump's complete bitch or just be in opposition to him and just accept that he won't like you. And Keir Starmer should have done that. He should have been like, look, Starmer's going to hate me. Trump's going to hate me anyway, but I'm going to take the proper principled position. But he spent years trying to grovel to him, and then just because he took too long in Trump's eyes to come into this war, Trump now hates him.
Yeah.
Well done, Starmer. Well done.
I'll tell you the difference. The difference between Mamdani, well, I mean, there are lots of differences, but the difference in the eyes, let's say from the eyes of Donald Trump, the difference between Mamdani and a lickspittle gobshite like our current Prime Minister is that one of them has a backbone. Now, Donald Trump, for all of his faults and failings, and they are replete, has a certain strong sense of what he thinks being a man should be, which, by the way, is sort of also a failing, but regardless. He thinks he knows what masculinity is about. And part of that is about having the confidence to be able to say F you to a person you don't like. Donald Trump doesn't necessarily take that personally. When Mamdani called him a war criminal and a rapist and all the rest of it. Yeah, fascist, yeah. Donald Trump was like, firstly, secretly, he was like, yeah, I am all of those things. Because he knows. He knows because he did the things, you know? And secondly, he's like, he can respect the self-respect that Mamdani has in his presence. Whereas literally physically scrabbling around on the floor to pick up his papers, giving him a second state visit, kowtowing to him in every possible way is pathetic. Donald Trump is a bully. He sees and exploits weakness. He only ever respects strength. Now, again, there is some toxic masculinity involved in all of that, of course, but ultimately he sees in Keir Starmer a victim that he can pick on. Now, on a personal level, I don't care. Keir Starmer's a piece of shit, but unfortunately, he is the Prime Minister. So when we say he's being victimised, we mean that America is able to more easily victimise the people of the United Kingdom, which is really bad because, you know, we're already in a pretty weak spot as it is. So having Donald Trump bully us into, I don't know, invading Greenland next Tuesday or something absurd, you wouldn't be surprised because Keir Starmer is the biggest bitch ever.
Agree. And speaking of conspiracies, this next story is an absolute whopper. Let's go on to our final story. Comedian Ahmed Dajili went on a very bizarre attack against Zach Polanski. Now, Zach Polanski initially tweeted this. Israel killed 160 children in a strike on a school. It's so dystopian and grim. Even worse, that the BBC looked to murky the waters. But Omid responded and said this. Nothing is proved yet, Zach. The fact that you are spreading misinformation is appalling for someone in your position. To date, no one has been allowed to see any evidence of casualties or even the site itself. The regime says it's America or Israel. The Americans say they were nowhere near the area. Here's what Iranians inside Iran say. The IRGC blew it up themselves to fill it up with dead bodies of children they've kept on ice, hidden away in cold storage from the January slaughters, to put on display in order to blame their aggressors. The fact that we have not seen the evidence yet is a red flag, as we know the regime would have gleefully paraded those images on television and all over the internet. Most probably, they were caught on film transferring the bodies, hence why there is now a media blackout on this story, as well as full internet blackout. As Iranians, we know how this regime operates. We're talking about new levels of evil. So any narrative like the one you are pushing, Zach, actually supports the regime in their don't care how many die as long as we stay in power quest. For the love of God and humanity, please stop. Hashtag Iran massacre. Hashtag Iran Israel war. That might be one of the most deranged things I've ever heard. Yes, the Iranian regime had bodies of children in freezers, and then they were to plant them in a school and then blow it up and blame it on Israel and America. But they were caught in the act by doing it. Okay, so here's the thing. If they were caught in the act, where's the footage of them being caught in the act? He talks about the fact that Zach Polanski provides no evidence of the US and Israel bombing the school, and then comes up with his own story that's made up in his own head that Iran did it themselves with the bodies of dead cold children. Again, you can't talk about evidence when you come up with your own story, concoct your own story with no evidence, and you just say, well, Iranian insiders. Which insiders? Who? It's crazy. Now, this was obviously called out, and it was called out by Owen Jones. The Americans bombed the school, Omid. It's extremely disturbing if you continue to double down on claiming otherwise. And attached to the tweet is an article from the New York Times with analysis that shows the school was hit by the US. Now, by the way, Pete Hegseth was asked about, what was going on with the school. I mean, apparently the US and Israel hit the school. Now, if it wasn't by the US, Pete Hegseth and the American government would be like, yeah, it wasn't us. It was Iran, definitely. They just would have said that. But the fact that Pete Hegseth said, we're looking into it, we're going to investigate it, means obviously it was them, right? It's the same with Israel. Whenever they commit a crime, and obviously often they lie to somebody else, but if they can't lie, they just say, we're going to look into it and we're going to investigate it. Now, Omid is acting so deranged that even Oz Chatterjee called him out. It's supremely disappointing to see this from Omid Djili. I'm 100% with him on not trusting the regime, but all of the credible reporting points to this being a US strike that massacred those school girls. Wanting something to not be true is no excuse for whitewashing this. Now, you have to remember, Oz is extremely horny for war, by the way, and he's a massive propagandist. But even this was too far for him. But it was Omid's reply to Owen Jones that had me almost falling off my chair. I encourage everyone to read this pro-regime New York Times propaganda article with the headline "Analysis Suggests," which itself is non-conclusive. No one is suggesting it didn't happen, but as to who was responsible, it is extremely disturbing that the New York Times and BBC Verify quote sources only and exclusively from the Islamic regime as evidence. So we have still not seen concrete, independently verified evidence, and that is a fact. If you want to trust them, Owen, that's on you, but Iranians don't. We know how this regime operates. They have previous thousands of examples, but most recently, how about the massacre of tens of thousands of their own, simply for the act of protest? With the internet cut out immediately after the bombing, so eyewitnesses in Minab were silenced. Is this really journalistic integrity? Hashtag Iran massacre. Hashtag Iran Israel war. Why does he keep using hashtags? Now, it's really strange because what he's saying is, again, Owen, we have a best true with zero evidence. And by the way, when it comes to not everything has to be verified as a fact to report on. That's why you say, reports say this, person A claims this. And you want to say that, well, the BBC Verify and the New York Times are just, echoing claims from the Iranian regime, unquestioned. I mean, are you going to say that about Israel? I mean, literally, the entire mainstream media will be like, this happened because Israel said it. I mean, that's just what reporting is. And by the way, analysis suggests, I mean, that is analysis. It's some form of evidence. But I can't believe he said that the New York Times is pro-Iranian regime. A Western paper which has provided pro-Israel articles is pro the Iranian regime. Kevin, I mean, some people have had collective delusionment with this war. I mean, what do you make of Omid's interjection?
If I ever get dunked on by Oz Catagy like that, get me to a Dignitas clinic, because I don't want to live anymore, frankly. I mean, that is tragic to see. Ahmed Jalil is a person I've had respect for as a performer. His comedy, I think, has always been pretty good. I've enjoyed a lot of his stuff, but clearly he should stick, I think, probably to comedy and not political analysis. It doesn't seem his particular strong point. Now, as a person who is an Iranian man himself, I can understand why he has strong passions about this topic. Obviously, that makes sense. But when you allow your political biases to just run amok like that, you're obviously going to end up with absurd suggestions like this. And then the bizarre backtracking where he says no one's suggesting it didn't happen. No, you're suggesting it didn't happen. You're suggesting the Iranian government planted frozen dead children from January. If they needed dead bodies, there are loads of them. America are killing them in their hundreds at the moment. Why would they need to why were they deep freezing children, Ahmed? What are you talking about, you mad bastard? It's so silly. You don't need to do this. You can be against the Iranian government and oppose the bombing of schools as well. Those are two completely compatible positions, actually. They're both positions I hold. I don't like the Iranian regime. I didn't like the now late leader of that country. And I don't think that bombing children is a good thing in general. And more specifically, I don't think it's a good way of, bringing down the Iranian regime. If anything, it's going to toughen the people to say fuck you to the very people who are bombing you, as has always been the case in every fucking bombing in the history of the world. Literally, if you drop bombs on people, it makes them more stoic, not less. That's the way it goes. But in terms of the conspiracy theory, I wasn't aware of this story before you sent the script thing earlier today, because I try and avoid Twitter because it's now just a cesspit of Nazis and child porn. Who'd have thought it? Elon Musk, a friend of Jeffrey Epstein, creating an app that creates child porn. Crazy. Anyway, so I wasn't aware of this story, but I read through and I just thought, this is madness. This is like confirmation bias and conspiracy theory run amok, and it's a damn shame to see. But ultimately, he doesn't have any political power, so I find it difficult to take it very seriously. It's just a sad old man being sad and old, I think.
Yeah, but this is the thing, right? And of course, none of us support the Iranian regime. Of course, it has issues with killing their own protesters. It has issues with democracy, especially issues with women, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We have seen the most hysteria when it comes to the corporate media. I mean, saying 60,000 people were killed. I mean, Ian Dale, I'm sure it's Ian Dale, suggested that millions of people were killed by the Iranian regime. These aren't verified, by the way. And it's important. It's important to have it, have the facts at play here. It's kind of like, on October 7th, right, all the wild claims that 40 babies were beheaded, there were mass rapes. None of that was true, or rather, there was no evidence to suggest that. And when you point that out, so people would add some kind of moral argument to that and say, well, you're disgusting. And it's like, no, but it's important, right, to get the facts out there as journalists, right?
Yeah.
So it's important to say that there's no evidence that Iran bombed their own school, whereas there's evidence that the US and Israel did it, right?
Yeah.
And of course they killed their own, but there's no evidence that millions of people that were killed. We have to understand the numbers matter. But of course, a lot of the media want to make Iran, again, they're a bad regime, but they want to make them sound this bad. So do you know what? For those that are anti-war, just this time maybe we can support it, which is funny because every single time we want to go to war, it's like, okay, I get it. We shouldn't go to war. But maybe this time, which is not... Nigel Farage has said that. Nigel Farage has been like, oh, this is very different to Iraq. They always say that every single time.
Well, exactly. The Liberal is against every war except the one that's currently happening.
That's currently happening, yeah.
Just as they're in support of every civil rights campaign except the one that's currently happening. It's a repeated pattern, rinse and repeat every generation. Yeah. But I think there is important context, right? And it's not whataboutism, because I'm not suggesting that we should be friends with any of these particular countries. It's the fact, it's the hypocrisy of it, right? You mentioned quite rightly that Iran has a democratic deficit, and that its dealings with women are particularly grotesque, and its putting down of those protests in January was brutal as fuck, obviously. But like, we're literally launching from sites in Jordan and Qatar, countries with equally, if not worse, human rights records. Yep. We are very, very friendly with other autocratic nations like Saudi Arabia, who, if we really care about human rights and treatment of people and all the rest of it very well, then we should probably look into Saudi Arabia, because literally last year they executed via crucifixion a person who was convicted of witchcraft. The idea that we're friends of human rights here in the West is ludicrous. Pull the other one.
Absolutely. Okay, I think it's time to bring in our producer, Sarah Delau, and let's bring up your comments, as I know there's going to be some very interesting comments. Sarah, hello.
Hello. Good to. What a great show, basically. That's what I wanted to say. Let's start with our super chats, because there were quite a few interesting comments that came through that. But thank you, Tim, for becoming a member. And thank you, Michael, for always gifting a Turn Left membership. Thank you to James for also gifting 5 Turn Left memberships as usual, which is super wonderful. And Specs as well, super consistent. We always see you and the effort that you pour into Turn Left, so thank you. Sorry, I'm just going through. Just comments on Lammy, really interesting. We all agree that Lammy is spineless. Lammy couldn't even condemn the girls' school attack. Lammy, I don't think, could spell genocide if he wanted to. Like, Lammy's just like...
Well, he doesn't need to. He just has to plead guilty or not guilty at The Hague.
but the thing is, it's never going to happen.
Jurors.
Blair is still not at The Hague, so we can't even wish for a day in which these people are held.
All right, fucking piss on my cornflakes then. Whatever. Jesus.
All right, do you know what? This time's going to happen. We will see Lammy at The Hague.
Yes, let's. Lammy, I will drive you there, mate. Let's go for a trip.
I'd fucking walk there.
Yeah, I will swim with you on my back like a fucking turtle.
Oh yeah, turtles do swim.
Okay, yeah, they do.
Sorry.
So yeah,
so slow
they are a tad amphibious, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, is it tortoise or turtle? But you're right, turtle. Ollie said an advantage Reform had was that they loudly acknowledged there were problems. Now that there's a viable left-wing version of that, shouting small boats every 5 seconds doesn't work as well. So fucking true.
And not just that, but like at best they've plateaued the Reform Party, whereas the left essentially left the scene. Post Corbyn, there was nowhere for the left to go. Like they weren't voting for the Labour Party. They got 500,000 fewer votes in their supposed it was a landslide electoral victory, right? Then supposedly the worst result in Labour's history, which it wasn't, but regardless. Whereas now the left has essentially just reappeared on the scene now because they have a viable, thing to go and vote for, even if they're not necessarily completely on board with the Green Party. And I understand that there are issues there, the fact that they don't have that kind of strong trade union link and stuff like that. I understand the reticence, but there is an actual alternative there. They're trying to make hope normal again, and for a lot of people it's becoming more normal again, and that's a glorious thing to say.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, with Reform, they talk about immigration. That gets a particular portion of the public, but that's it. If you're just offering reduction in immigration and then moaning about everything, that is not particularly popular with people. I don't think people like that, and that's the thing. Like, the left just simply left the scene, and it allowed Reform to come in and be like, well, the Labour Party are left wing and they suck. But the left comes on the scene and like, no, the Labour Party are not left-wing, and yes, we agree, they suck. But here's some policies. Here's rent controls. Here's renationalisation of water. Here's increasing taxes on the rich, ending privatisation in the NHS. And then people are like, we really like that. And Reform voters are like, we also like that too. And again, when it comes to many issues, the left can be quote-unquote out of touch with the British people. But when it comes to economic issues, the left are in touch. They have the policies and people support them. And the Greens, which again even though the policies haven't really changed since the last leadership, Zach Plancy's communication style has put the Greens class first, which is why I love it when his detractors say, oh, you used to only talk about the environment. No, you never talk about the environment. It's like, yeah, because you want them to be a one-issue party and they're irrelevant, but actually they're talking about bread and butter issues. They're talking about public services. They're talking about economic inequality and wages, and people like that, apart from those in the corporate media.
Well, exactly. This is why I've joined the Green Party in a way that I never would have, say, even 5 years ago or something like that. Because it wasn't ever that I disagreed with their policies on the environment, because I've been absolutely, a strong supporter of them. People like Caroline Lucas are fucking heroic in their almost lone furrow they've been ploughing for so many years. But ultimately, they were seen as a sort of harmless, like, the nice Greens. They're a single-issue party. They're not actually going to affect anything. Let them sit over there and be like hippies doing gardening or whatever. Whereas now, they've got some actual teeth to them. Now they're actually a genuine force for progressive good, which is why you're starting to see the likes of Farage and the Mail and all Shabana Mahmood go after them. And honestly, it's been so glorious to see. Not just, like, I can't decide what I like more about the Gorton and Denton win. The fact that the Greens lost, or the fact that Matt Goodwin lost. Do you know what I mean? Like, the Greens winning was awesome, but seeing Matt Goodwin's face looking like a fucking slapped ass on that stage.
Well, even Matt Badloss has become mainstream. It's not just a Twitter thing.
Yeah, and rightly so as well, because like they've just been whinging. Oh, we didn't lose normally. It was because of the Browns. Oh,
and the thing is, though, what makes no sense is, even if you were to say that every single person, this democracy, whatever they call the group, by the way, they didn't have any evidence. They put a report out, but there was no evidence. And the Manchester Council, they said there was no irregularities. But let's just say, for the argument's sake, that every single person who was reported on that, right, that you took away their votes. The Greens would have won anyway, because they won by 4,000 votes. And this report said there was 32 instances. So essentially, maximum 100 votes that could have maybe been taken off the account. It made no difference.
But also, right, there's no saying who those people... Like, let's say there was interference. There's literally no suggestion as to who it was being interfered in favour of. The Labour Party has a very strong history in that particular seat. The idea that some people might put undue influence on someone to continue to vote Labour against their will seems perfectly plausible to me. So why is it that the Green Party are copying it in any way? When, as you point out, there's no actual evidence of this, and the Reform Party have now put it to the police, and the police will investigate, find there's no fucking evidence, and because there's nothing to find there. Like, were there some people who behaved in ways that they probably oughtn't have? Possibly, yeah, but there's loads of reasons why someone might stick their head around a polling booth thing, because especially when you're dealing with communities, some of whom are new to the country, maybe they're not fully familiar with how voting works in this particular place, or they're not familiar with some of the names of the people, or where they're supposed to put their mark on the thing. Like, there's loads of reasons someone might do that. They're not supposed to. It's still against the rules. I absolutely fully agree with that. But the idea that it's entirely nefarious and entirely in favour of the Greens is ridiculous.
Of course.
On to Coops, who gifted £20. Thank you so much.
Wow,
Coops.
thank you.
Coops always does this. I see you, Coops. Just for Studio Pop, but please do everything you can to stop this war in Iran.
Okay,
we'll try.
That's fine. But what you can't do, promise me you won't do what the Young Turks did.
What's that?
Get a crowd-funded studio and then have it advertised as the Poly Market Studios, which is literally what they did. Their supporters funded that studio, and then they got it sponsored by Peter fucking Thiel.
I didn't know that they were the supporters to support. Or I suppose they did start off individual donation. I can guarantee we're not going to go down the Young Turks avenue. What I will say is, though, that I think there's some kind of exciting news in regards to a studio. To be transparent, this, even though it looks like a studio, this is actually at my house. It's just downstairs. But
which is odd, because mine looks like it's at my house, but this is actually a studio to make me seem more humble. Actually,
it's not a studio, is it?
I'm in Hollywood, mate. What are you talking about?
Okay, sorry. I mean, yeah, absolutely. We'll go with that.
This is CGI. This is perfect. What are you talking about?
Screen. But we I've built like a secondary studio in here, so I think in the next year we may have some sort of like potentially other people hosting in this chair. We may have some people in the other studio. So even though it's not a full-on studio, it's still technically in my house. you're going to see some kind of cool dynamics going on. Hopefully, in the next couple of months, actually.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Super exciting time. Ooh. Flex. David isn't anything loveless. Reference Iran war. Give you £5. Thank you so much, David. Iran war. US using bases based in UK for an illegal war shows Zach Polanski is right. Starmer's literally Trump's poodle-oodle.
I have to say, I'm still waiting because, I mean, naturally, on the left, you're expecting people to try and stab you in the back because it's the left, and like the right always get their claws into people and they become wankers. Like my biggest fear for Hannah Spencer is that Westminster, like she becomes Westminster,
gobbles her up. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, she participated in that really cringe dance thing, which was not good optically. You know,
it wasn't great, but like I'm fine with a bit of cringe. I'm talking more like the corruption and the day-to-day nonsense. But
True,
with
that's where it starts.
Exactly, that's the thin end of the wedge. No, but with Zach Polanski, so far, and maybe it's because he's not in Westminster, I suppose, whatever. So far, he gives the answer I want him to give. Not necessarily the exact thing I believe, but the thing that is politically efficacious to do, as well as being the right thing. And in terms of the Iran war, it would be very easy for him to try and play the centrist kind of bullshit mode. And he's going, no, this is fucking illegal. This is wrong. We shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't be aiding America's imperialism. This is really bad. He calls the Palestinian genocide a genocide. Like, that's the answer you should give. Because A, it's true, and B, people need to fucking hear it.
By the way, just to acknowledge chat, I sort of misspoke. I said house. This is a flat, and I don't own it. I am renting, even though I'm in Leeds. So I'm very, very far away from getting a house. I did just want to put that out there because I'm not part of the petty bourgeoisie. I'm just joking. You're not part of the petty bourgeoisie if you're in a house, but I'm a renter.
When he says he's renting, he means he's renting the room out down below to a sweatshop of slaves. So.
Yeah, I noticed, Kevin, you haven't turned it to work to not get paid.
True.
You'd be drinking clean water. This is not good on my watch.
Who let you out the cage?
Someone said second flat.
But everyone knows I wouldn't willingly work for the landlord.
Curtis is a landlord. Absolutely fucking not.
Absolutely not. I wouldn't work with one.
No, I'd abolish myself.
No, literally, I couldn't. I don't think I would be able to cope.
No, exactly.
But I also, Curtis wouldn't be able to cope either. We just can't stand landlords. But and I don't. And every time I say that on like TikTok, everyone's like, "Well, I'm a landlord." And I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't actually care. Like, I doesn't.
There's so many things I want to say, so I'll just mute myself and I'll just say, if you're a landlord, and we'll leave it there.
I don't even know what you said, but I did hear fucking. So I think it was funny. So pseudonymous, I can't remember what it said, how to pronounce it. It says if there was actual voting fraud, they would have reported it as it happened, not waited until the polls closed, and that's a fact.
Yeah, strange, isn't it? Why would they do that? Why would you wait until the polls close? It's just
exactly. Oliver Carpenter 389 said the argument that conservative Muslim men have forced their wives and adult children to support a white working class woman headed by a gay Jewish man and pushing for socialism is literally bonkers.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I hate to do the liberal id poll thing, but thankfully this sort of isn't that. But having a Jewish guy front it up is important because the same attacks that were used on Corbyn, Polanski doesn't have the baggage of like, you know, quotes that can be quote mined about, you know, our friends from the Hamas or whatever the fuck it was, the PLO, whatever it was, and he didn't put a wreath on a thing that was near somebody's funeral thing that was a terrorist or whatever. He doesn't have that baggage, and also it's a bit weird to be like, oh, so Zach Polanski, you're a Jewish anti-Semite. Doesn't really fit. Now, that's not to say you can't be a Jewish anti-Semite.
But like it's harder to land.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't it?
Yeah, like Benjamin Netanyahu is the biggest anti-Semite on the planet. If you're a Jewish person who disagrees with him in any way whatsoever, he does not consider you properly Jewish.
Although arguably, I think Zach Polanski has bigger baggage because even though Jeremy Corbyn did refer to Hamas as friends, it was in an environment in which he's trying to negotiate, right?
Yeah,
he's not actually friends with them. Zach Polanski used to be a Lib Dem.
Which is worse than being in Hamas, yes.
And not just that, but he was on stage singing a song. What was that? Ain't No Mountain High Enough at the Lib Dem conference.
Which is worse than being Al-Qaeda or ISIS.
He's worse than being a terrorist. He should never be Prime Minister.
Honestly, I think Zach Polanski should be prescribed. Yeah.
His singing should be prescribed.
Yeah.
I hope Zach's not watching now, actually.
No, we love Zach. Sorry, just on to Lammy again, because I love Lammy. the dislike for Lammy. Lammy can't answer a question. He's mainly talking to himself and like a lot of stomach hemorrhoids.
He's pathetic.
He's uniquely bad though, Lammy. So bad.
Starmeroids is pretty good. That's pretty good.
Starmeroids.
Starmeroids is so funny. And this is a quick admin question. How best do we make donations, both one-off and regular? Where do you get most of the money?
So if you go to turnleftmedia.co.uk/support, there's two links. There's one to a Patreon, and you can pay £3 or £5 a month. That's a recurring fee. There is another link called Ko-fi or Coffee. I can never understand how it's actually pronounced. You can do a monthly thing there too, but it gives you an option to do a one-off donation. The difference is that even though we love donations here and super chats and memberships, the slight issue is that Google takes 30%. We made £400 on one of our live shows last week, and we got paid $260. Still a lot of money, but they take a big cut. Whereas Patreon and doing it through a website, we get, I think it's 100%. But I understand that not everyone can afford to pay £3 or £5 or more. People like to just spend 99p, so I don't want to discourage people. But it's worth pointing out that yes, the Google megacorp who was using all of our analysis and data is also taking 30% of our revenue.
If you want to support me, my OnlyFans is fucking Spiso. So
KF Logan 1875 and OnlyFans, and that's
Exactly.
yes, it's his real birth date.
Yeah, I am that old.
But everyone should go over to Kevin's channel, subscribe to him, give him money, give him super chats, become a member, and go on Twitch and give him bits and subs.
I will shake my ass for money. Yes.
Yeah. Apparently.
Edward Sexby said, a vital question here is, why exactly does the UK still have bases in the Middle East? It's for nakedly imperialist reasons, obviously. This attack has been on the cards for years.
No, we were promised those bases 3,000 years ago, so it's fine.
Yeah.
That's law. That's how it works, right? That's how it works. It's fine. It's fine.
I was thinking about this today actually, but in the American context about military bases, and really, I mean, obviously everyone knows this is about imperialism, but of course, like having military bases everywhere means you can, if there's a war, you literally have the facilities to bomb from those military bases, rather than like America having to launch missiles from all the way from there to Iran. If they have a military base in neighboring countries, they can do that. And it's all about intimidation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is sort of then sort of gets me onto thinking the Greens and Zach Polanski want to shut down military bases. Absolutely based, by the way. We should support that. And it just reminds me of Harry Perkins from A Very British Coup, in which one of his policies was to shut down American bases in the UK. And my God, I know it was based on fiction, but it's based on a book by Chris Mullins, who was a cabinet member in Tony Blair's government. Fiction, but very, very real. Well, one of the biggest things is that Harry Perkins could not be prime minister because he wanted to shut down American military bases in the UK.
Yeah, well, if you want an actual example of how this will often operate from a slightly different context, but technically a Commonwealth, a Dominion nonetheless, Australia, they had a prime minister in the, I think it was 70s or 80s, Dolph something or other, anyway, and he wanted to do an investigation into a CIA listening post, which is in the outback, like a military base there, and all of a sudden the CIA, look, and this is all like well attested to now, the CIA contacted people in Britain who contacted the Governor General, who got the Prime Minister, the directly democratically elected Prime Minister of Australia, removed. Because the Queen can just, or the King now I suppose, can just fucking do that. That's a thing that's just allowed. Australia, please get your bollocks back from the purse of the King, please.
Oh, but the monarchy, they don't actually have any power. They absolutely do, and as you just demonstrated, we've just literally removed an elected prime minister in Australia because he was asking questions about imperialism.
Yeah, because the thing is, 99% of the time, Gough Whitlam, that was the man's name, not Dolph. Gough, anyway. Get normal names, Australia, for fuck's sake. Right. Yeah, Pine Gap was the place, right? It's a kind of military listening base thing, spying centre, which we've got loads of here, which is used to spy on British people in Britain as well. And the fact that he just wanted to investigate that site, he wanted to have governmental oversight of a bit of Australia as the Prime Minister of Australia. The King, or the Queen as it was then, representative, the Governor General, who technically is above the Prime Minister who was elected by the Australian people, just removed him. Yeah, there you go. There's a source in my chat if you want to go and follow it on Wikipedia, yeah. Ridiculous.
Omid Djili says that's a load of rubbish and Iran did it.
True. I'm a Guff Whitlam Iran truther.
Who even is he?
I'm a Jalili.
Edward Sexby loved what you said, Curtis, about Horny for War. That's an album title right there.
Well,
And
I mean,
then-
I had to block Oz Catergy because the guy is absolutely insane. He really is horny for war. So I thought it was a good line.
And then this last one, I've got a few more I need to get to because there's been some donations. Why do comedians always go insane? Do they work with some chemicals I'm not aware of? And it's so true, like Russell Brand and...
Well, you have to be...
I've got faith in James Acaster. I think I like him. I don't think he's going to go down there.
I don't think so either. But like, there is something about the comedian. You have to be a slightly broken person to want to seek the validation of others that much. You know what I mean? Like, you need people to laugh at your jokes for a living. Okay, I mean, like, that's the kind of person that can go a bit wrong. If that particular psychosis becomes like, oh, the transes, or oh, Iran bombed their own school or whatever, it can become.
I don't know. I think the pipeline that needs to be studied is the comedian that ends up, or actor that ends up being abusive or allegedly abusive, and then becomes this born-again Christian and then somehow really right-wing. Like, there's a really weird pipeline with that.
That's just self-defense. That, look, I'll just
that's how they. But it's true. That's how they do it. It's literally
is. It's literally self-defense. They know there is an inbuilt right-wing base of support that they can just tap into. And Russell Brand did this. He was in court last week for his one of his many sexual assault trials that he's got facing. And he was quoting from the Bible, right? And they literally took the Bible off him. Otherwise, because he wasn't answering the question, so he'd get done for contempt of court. The Christians were like, "This is anti-Christian phobia." No,
of course.
This isn't Alabama, you cunt. You can't just fucking read from the Bible. Guilty or not guilty, cunt. Talk.
What's you've been charged of rape? What's your response? Thou shalt not wear two different types of garment together.
Exactly.
Comedians are generally quite left-leaning, though. If you look broadly, you don't get many right-wing comedians, and I think, can you guess why? But yeah,
because to be a right winger is to be artless scum.
To be a right winger is to be a snowflake, ironically.
Yeah.
So Clara, bless her, just quickly sent £5, but obviously we answered your question,
thank you.
Clara. So I hope that's been answered for you. But about the best way to make a donation, I think Curtis answered that. But really kind of you to donate.
Just
£5.
give it directly to my bank account and doesn't go to the rest of the team. Goes
So
to
my
me.
sort code is.
Just go up to.
Here's my card.
No,
wait, people are taking money out of my account. No, give me money. Don't take money away.
No, the best way is to go up to Curtis in the street and put a 20 in his thong like a stripper.
Speaking from experience.
Drop it like it's hot. And Third Eye Blind, thank you so much for £10 donation. And then we'll end on this one. Nigel Farage is a massive wanker. Just saying. Ah, you said it, not me.
It's not that big.
You shouldn't know that either.
It's too funny. Yeah, but I think that we'll end there. But thank you so much for the comments and the
On that one.
donations. Yeah, because I think it's great. And
Great.
yeah, it's great. Amazing analysis, guys. Really, really grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Great comments. Thank you for the super chat. Of course, thank you to everyone who tuned in. And of course, thank you so much to Kevin.
Thank you for having me on. It was a pleasure as always.
That sounded like you were made to say that. Have you got that script hit?
Well, I'm downstairs.
I did send you the scripts.
I'm downstairs in your flat that you rent out to the slave owners. Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
it's one of my part of my property portfolio.
There's a man with a gun just pointed at me, and I have to say, I enjoyed tonight's show. Thank you for having me on. Please let my family go, please.
But we are family. We'll get into the areas. Excellent show, Kevin. Thank you again. Of course, you can catch us on Monday at 7:30 p.m. You have been watching Normal Ireland live. Thank you so much, and have a great weekend. I'll see you next time.
Dreamy.
Oh, there's no
Dreamy.
There's no Hitler anymore.
No, it's all raided into Kevin, shall we?
Ah, thank you.
I got to get up at like fucking 4:30.
I'm honestly I'm excited for you, but I also was like,
Yeah,
bless your heart.
Yeah,
That's gonna be brutal.
what's going on with you then? What
I'm
you got
going
planned?
to Amsterdam and smoke loads of weed. No, I'm going to Amsterdam.
Yep.
The Hague group have been there all week, and there's an event going on.
What the William Hague group? Yeah, go on.
No, just the Hague. We love William Hague. And hopefully getting some exclusive interviews. There's going to be Greta Thunberg's going to be there, Francesca Albanese, Jeremy Corbyn, many others. So
Put in a good word. Tell Greta Thunberg to come on my show, and I'll promise you we'll definitely have the thing to watch, and I won't just talk to her for an hour like a cunt.
Actually, is it Thunberg or Thunberg? I need to get that right.
I'll ask her when she comes on.
Yeah, I'm sure she'd love to hear your sound alerts.
Yes, I'm sure she would too. She's another one. Like, she's amazing. I love her. She's always sort of on the right side of things, and she didn't need to be. Like, I like someone who could have just taken the easy road and went, "Nah, fuck this noise. I'm joining a flotilla and shit."
She literally could have been like one of them liberal sort of climate change people who are like they're extinct. Like some people involved in Extinction Rebellion who are like, yes, we need to save the planet, and then there's like no class. But then she was like, no, capitalism's fucked, the genocide in Palestine, and it's like, oh, she's a real one.
Yeah, no, she literally is. Love her. Yeah.
And she absolutely dogged Andrew Tate on Twitter, and I've always
that's so good. Yeah, that whole thing was literally why he got arrested, because of the pizza boxes.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is fucking mad. Oh god. Anyway, also good to see him get knocked the fuck out in that fight the other day as well. That was good.
Yeah. Terrible, man. I need to jump off to do this clip, and I've got
go you go in. Oh, I'm gonna rub shoulders with Greta Thunberg. Yeah, go on. No, it's okay.
It might not even happen.
It's like no, it's fine. It's fine. Forget Kev. No, go and hang out with you.
You know, I'd rather spend time with you.
Go and hang out with Greta. Go on, it's fine.
I shouldn't have said anything because I might come back empty-handed. Like, yeah, I didn't get any interviews.
No, you never know. I'm fingers crossed. Like, it's gonna be either way. It's gonna be really productive.
And you know what I'm gonna say when that happens? I'm just gonna go, oh, look who's come crawling back. Couldn't get an interview with Greta, so he's come crawling back to the Kev. Okay.
You know, I've got to go to Manchester and then.
How far's Manchester from you?
Well, it's not very far. It's only like an hour and a bit. But it's Manchester Airport.
It's technically it's the wrong fucking direction, though.
Are you taking the taxi early in the morning?
What, to Manchester?
Yeah, I don't know, because are there trains at that time? I'm not
That'd be like 500 quid.
I've got a train from Leeds to Manchester Airport, and then the airport to Amsterdam.
Oh my god, can you send loads of pictures, please? I'm really excited.
Oh, so you're going on a plane? You're going on a plane to interview the noted environmental activist Greta Thunberg?
I think, yeah.
And what?
Okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. Hypocrite. That's fine. It's fine.
No, excellent. I think it's excellent thing to do, Catherine. Really excited. I'm gonna go.
No, that is genuinely super awesome. Thank you.
It is.
And thank you everyone for having me on, and we'll talk
thanks,
another
Kevin.
time.
You're amazing as ever. Really,
Much love.
Great to have
Thank you. Love you guys.
Bye, guys.
Love you.
Okay.
See ya.
Bye. And there we go, Chatterinos. How are we all? We can't see you because I had the fucking camera turned onto the thing, so it was, yeah, there you go. The Channel Tunnel goes there. Well, true it does, but it's a bit of a fucking nose to get there on a train from Leeds. Which would have been really good if we had, like, I don't know, a high-speed rail connection that linked London to Birmingham and Manchester and Leeds. That would have been fucking awesome. Imagine if that plan was in effect. Never mind. Let's not get into it. Also, it was cool to see Gareth popped in earlier as well. Much love. I don't know if you're still listening. You're probably off doing normal people things, I imagine. But yeah, much love to you. Okay, I'm gonna fuck off. You look great tonight, Kev. No, I don't. But thank you, Oliver. I appreciate the nice words, but you are incorrect on that. Yeah. I fucking love the Channel Tunnel. I just wonder about letting the French in. Because they can just walk here now. I mean, they don't. Obviously, they catch a train. But, you know, is that wise? Should we be encouraging them? coming over here, making things smell like garlic, making our women come. It's disgraceful.
It's a fucking disgrace.
Correct. I have the oddest collection of people on my soundboard.
Throbbing.
Oh no, they're both just racist transphobes. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna fuck off. Thank you everyone for listening and watching. I might try and put this up as a standalone video thing or something, maybe, or a clip of it, perhaps. I don't know. Engineers are complaining about the amount of civil engineering they need to do. Well, why did you become an engineer? If you don't want to do engineering, why did you become an engineer, would be my contention with those people. Like, the doctors get annoyed at having to doctor? Like, you signed up to deal with engineering. Why didn't you do something else? You can't accidentally become a fucking engineer. Anyway, yeah. That's by the by. Yes. Let's find someone to raid into. On the YouTubes, plural. There's no one. Okay, well on YouTube, go and enjoy your evening. I don't know. Or hit the follow button if you have, or subscribe button on YouTube if you haven't already. If you were raided over from Turn Left, yeah. And on the Twitch machines, who's going? Zacap. We haven't been over to Zacap in a while. Good Aussie. Having talked about Gough Whitlam, why not go and go to an Australian? Okie doke. I will see you all. What day is it tomorrow? Saturday. I don't know what I'm doing. The Blues are away from home, so I'm not at the football. But yeah, I'll do something with you, probably. I don't know. Thank you all for listening and watching. You're fucking awesome. Thank you enormously for all of your support. And free Palestine. No pass around.
Uneven and contested process. Negotiation.